this place here called Superfish is really good fish and chips. It's really unromantic. It's not a very nice restaurant. You don't go there with the love of your life and the fire of your loins to propose marriage. You go there for a nice piece of fish. It's where all the London taxi drivers go. So if you go there and say, you know what, they were a little bit brusque, a little bit rude. I love this. These Canadian teenagers, every 5 seconds they were rude. Do the kids say that here as well? Oh, and they were teaching me another thing. How about this? Every 5 seconds they felt the need to say this word, which we don't use over here, and that word is awkward. Oh, that's awkward. And you have to say the word awkward like you're mildly constipated, apparently. Oh, I'm learning North American English the whole time. Oh, you lovely lot, I'm a tour guide, I do things like this. On your right, you will see a theatre. It's called the Old Vic. Have you heard of the Old Vic Theatre? Do you know who's the creative director? No. Has been for quite a while, but is about to relinquish command. Kevin Spacey. Oh. It's not unusual to see Kevin Spacey walking around the streets here. And you lovely lot, it's a good thing to remember the name of this theatre, the Old Vic, because I heard that you're going to be using... Have you met before, madam? You look very familiar. No? No? Maybe not. It's not unusual. Seen everybody. Remember when you're coming out, who founded us? I started off speaking a bit of Italian. It's relevant. Who founded London? Romans. The Romans. 2,000 years ago, the Roman emperor who was given to spontaneous nosebleeds and uncontrollable bouts of flatulence and uttered expletives at the drop of a hat. We think he had Tourette's syndrome, really, but a very clever man. Pain. His name was Claudius. You lovely lot. On the left-hand side there is a food market called Borough Market. It's a really lovely visit. You can get back here quite easily. Did anybody see a film called Bridget Jones? Yes. Bridget Jones lived down that road above that pub right there in the film. If you go back, you'll get that feeling absolutely. Also, actually, this is the moment to find out. Certain parts of Harry Potter were filmed under the bridges. Can I just check? Hands up here who does not care at all about Harry Potter.
How many?
Hands up who almost loses control of their bodily functions at the sound of his name. Yeah, madam. Yeah, madam at the back of the bus. So that is alright, just weighing up whether to do a few Harry Potter references. What about other Harrys? Do you guys all want to marry Harry? All you girls? Who wants to marry Harry? Prince Harry. You want to marry, what's your name, darling? Peyton, you want to marry Prince Harry? Do you think you're allowed? Why not? You're not royal? Doesn't matter. Remind me to tell you the story later on of an American who is married today into our royal family. I don't know, Prince Harry, do you all know Prince Harry, by the way? Yeah. He's the one that goes to America and takes off all his clothes. If you don't want to marry Prince Harry, would you like to marry Harry Styles? Harry Styles? The back of us? Yeah, Harry Styles over here. More of a Nile man myself. The river is right there. We're going to come around the corner and you're going to see a view, get a view. Oh! Shout as to which city you're in. As we come around the corner, and what an hour.
Oh, wow.
Spice World, the movie. Have you seen the Spice Girls film? Yeah. Yo, I'll tell you what I want. You remember the Spice Girls jumping? I don't know. So, we meander along the river, and I have to tell you folks, I tickled pink to be able to bring you to this part of the river. We are right in the very heart of London. We are just across the river from the 1 square mile city that was laid out But we are on the very edge of town. This church, St. Botolph's Church. St. Botolph is the patron saint of travellers in this country, and so this was right on the edge of town. This church was known as, forgive me children, And that is where victim number 4 of a man called Jack the Ripper was picked up.
Oh, wow.
Because they all were. Some of you might do a little bit of a walk. And she was murdered horribly behind this school here. We are going to come down a street now which is rather famous for a barber's shop, where you come in and the barber would say, "Hello sir, are you from around these parts?" And you say, "Well no, I'm from the United States of America." And then you get a rather closer shave than you'd anticipated. Your dead body would be deposited into the bowels of the building below. You would be cut up into great collops of human flesh and cooked into pies by a lady called Mrs. Lovett.
Wow.
These human flesh pies were extremely popular.
What?
And if you would like to buy one today, they are still for sale at any restaurant that you see the sign of the golden arches, like the one on the right hand side. Does everybody know what I'm talking about here?
Yeah.
What's the name of the barber? His name was Sweeney Todd.
Oh, yeah.
Demon barber of Fleet Street. Well done, Peyton. So we are on Fleet Street right now. Can I tell you, is the story of Sweeney Todd true? No. Some of you have seen the film with Johnny Depp, I think.
Yes.
The story of Sweeney Todd is true, which is is not true, which is quite interesting because we have so many absolutely true stories. Jack the Ripper is a true story. We certainly know what he did, we just don't know who he was. Sweeney Todd, the story of Mrs. Lovett and the human flesh pies are not real. And of course you can't buy human flesh pies at McDonald's. You can only buy burgers made of... Mr. Ripper. Did you hear that last year we had a bit of a crisis and a scandal? Because, don't worry, last year the whole of Britain was tearing its hair and beating its breast and wailing because not mad cow disease, but some horse meat got into the food chain. We found it in McDonald's burgers. Did you hear that? Oh yeah, and everyone's going, "No, this is awful, this is terrible." And the French people are going, "What is your problem?"
They eat it.
So this is Fleet Street, a very famous street for lawyers as well. We had the Old Bailey Court behind us, which we couldn't see, and the Royal Courts of Justice coming up. If you look in the left-hand side of Stanley Lays here, look for the lawyer's outfit where it says "Sale." Do you see that? Many famous barristers meandering up and down. This is where Tom Hanks's character and Audrey Tautou in the film of The Da Vinci Code ran up and down, because behind these buildings is the Temple Church. Some of you may know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And talking about a building that looks like a church but isn't a church, look on the right hand side. This amazingly cathedral-like building is our Royal Courts of Justice. This is our highest civil court in the land. This is where we have celebrity divorce cases. It's, for example, where the one-legged model Heather Mills got £20 million out of Sir Paul McCartney. And there clearly is some court case going on right now, because you'll see TV cameras and people waiting to go in and out of the Royal Courts of Justice.
What were they talking about?
On one or two typical buildings before the Great Fire of London.
I did not know.
As the George, the pub coming up on the left-hand side. Who are they seeking to interview here? Somebody coming down the road.
Who?
Anybody famous? Oh look, Justice
there's
for all,
pictures.
not just the rich.
Who is that?
Quite interesting. Here we go.
She's in the green. Who is she?
Side,
I don't know.
and you will see the skyline of the city of London. St. Paul's Cathedral, the Gherkin, the Cheese Grater, the walkie-talkie, and you might see the Shard as well, the big pointy one. It's the tallest building in Europe. And then you do a bit of head tennis and look to the right-hand side and see the skyline of the city of Westminster. This is our second city, where you see Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament and the London Eye. You lovely lot. Isn't that tremendous?
Yes.
You know what? If you are spinning, there it is. It is actually moving. It takes half an hour to make an entire revolution. Look at 3 o'clock. Can you see the red pod?
Yes.
The red pod.
I wondered what that was.
What?
If you had, listen, if you do meet a new love of your life and a new fire of your loins, and you want to get instantly married, what you have to do is go to the Red Pod, which has a license, you can be married on it. But more than that, the Red Pod famously is where you're supposed to propose. And actually, you're supposed to wait till it gets to the very, very top. I have to tell you, it was in the news quite recently, a bit of a sad story. This young lad grabbed his girl, grabbed a bottle of shampoo. You all know shampoo?
Champagne?
Shampoo is what we call champagne when we're rich. And he grabbed his bottle of shampoo, he grabbed his girl, he got into the pod. There were 23 complete strangers with you, because each one takes 25. He waited until it got to the very, very top of the Red Pod, and he went down on one knee and said, "Will you marry me?" And she said no. The rest of the trip was awkward. Here are handsome chaps on horses. These are members of the King's Troop Artillery. And actually, you know what? I think there was that's very, very unusual. Lovely chocolatey, creamy ones, and none of the boring, dry, flaky ones. Where is this National Gallery? Where is Nelson's Column? Well, to the right-hand side and at the top of the square. The building with the black dome is the National Gallery. So listen, in that gallery, if you are a fan of the show Desperate Housewives, you'd recognise the Arnold Feely wedding portrait. It also has paintings by Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Botticelli, all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are there. Paintings by Monet, Rembrandt, Van Dyck, Vermeer. The best sunflowers by Vincent van Gogh are there. We call him Van Gogh, I think you call him Van Gogh. In his home country, Holland, is known as Van Gogh. And look, ladles and jelly spoons, there's a big blue cockerel. Look, can you see the big blue cockerel? Rooster? We call it a cockerel in English. It's bright lights, we've got the advertising. Another road for shopping is called Piccadilly, which is the road down on the left-hand side. And by the way, if you want a really good recommendation for where to pick up jolly good Englishy gifts, Fortnum and Mason is down there. Waterstones Bookshop is the biggest bookshop in London I'm pointing at right now. You can go and pick up an entire dictionary of Cockney rhyming slang.
Jellies, right?
And look here, folks, on the right-hand side, this aluminium statue of a chap firing his arrow to the ground with wings. He is the little bringer of love. So
Cupid!
Well, you might know him as Cupid, but we call him by the Greek name, which is Eros. Look at all this. Hey, listen, ants. I know that Prince Charles and Camilla are at home right now. Right now, you are passing breathing some molecules of air that have passed through Prince Charles' body. I'm not sure if you're happy about that.
I'm not sleeping.
roast pigeon. There he is, looking particularly grumpy. Yeah. Hey kids, have you heard of Winston Churchill? You kids? What's your name, darling? Rachel, how old are you? 13. You haven't heard about Winston Churchill yet. I bet you're going to study him in history. He was our wartime Prime Minister, and he was very good at great speeches. He spoke like this. But actually, some of his speeches are rather notorious. That he was a bit of a male chauvinist, to tell the truth. And he had a terrible argument one day with a female politician called Lady Astor. They did not like each other at all. And Lady Astor, in exasperation, said, "Winston Churchill, you are a dreadful man. If I was your wife, I would put poison in your tea." And he looked at her for a second and he said, "Lady Astor, if I were married to you, I would drink it." Now, you see on the left-hand side a statue of Daniel Day-Lewis. Why have we got Abraham Lincoln? Why is there a well, guess what? You gave him to us. You gave him to us in the year 1920.
Westminster Abbey. It's Westminster Abbey. And there's Big Ben.
Huh?
And there's Big Ben.
Huh?
Big Ben.
Yes.
Gang, you can see that we're almost back to the ranch. Our driver Francisco has done a beautiful job of gliding us gently through the traffic. Tourists barring our way. You could knock them down, but you don't get many points. They